Welcome back to the channel. Today we are finishing off our Tech Disc series, maybe. I've been working with the Tech Disc since around January. If you haven't watched the first two videos, check them out up here. I'll link it here, and then the next one in a second here. Basically just trying to work on my form over the off season, and the off season is quickly coming to an end. It's time we do our last check-in. It's gonna start getting warm next week. Hoping to be outside on the course and not throwing into a net anymore. We'll do our 10 throws like we always do, compare it to the data in the past, see what I changed, try to give you guys a couple tips. Let's get into the throws. There's the 10 throws. Let's check out the data for our last time. All right, so speed, we're looking at 64.1 with minimum being 60.8. That one was a little bit shanked for sure. But max being just around 66. While throwing in the last couple days, I've hit up to 68. I've been able to hit 67 a little bit more often, but it seems to be my normal range is from 64 to 66. Spin is 1336. I don't think this is a ton different than it was the last time through here. Wobble, don't really care too much about. Hyzer, don't care too much about. I actually threw in the field a couple days ago. It was a warm day, and I found I was throwing hard and I was throwing fast, but I wasn't throwing on hyzer, which is interesting. So I was able to adapt on the course to get rid of this hyzer, where it seems like in a net, it's just so easy to throw on hyzer. I don't know why. Nose angle has generally gotten a little bit better, 0.9 from last time was 1.2. Minimum of negative 0.9, so just around 1, and max of 2.6. I think that 2.6 might have been matched with the 60.8, who knows. But yeah, over the last little bit too, I've noticed that my nose angle has been consistently between around that -1 to around 2. So if I can get my nose angle in that range, I'm actually fairly happy with it. I know optimal for max distance is -4 and your launch angle around 10-ish, 9 or 10. So these kind of just cancel each other out. My launch tends to be a little bit lower and my nose angle tends to be just a little bit higher. So kind of equals out. And launch was 2.7, a little bit low. One was turfed. One was maybe just a little bit high for my nose angle, but that again changes when you're out playing on an actual course. So here are the new numbers. So this is my final baseline. So these are my final numbers here for the end of the off season here. I actually just want to look at distances real quick. If you look at some of these numbers, so right around 400, 410, 405, 444, 426, 416, and those numbers don't include any kind of skip. So that's just straight to the point where it hits, kind of similar to a distance contest. But on the field, on a real course, you would end up getting a little bit of skip, which would push you maybe 15 to 25 feet further than that number too. So that 444 there would, depending on the angle and everything like that, it's hard to actually know without seeing it, but that might be closer to 450, 460 even. But let's talk about some of these form changes quick. I'm gonna give you my best estimation of what changed over the last about month. Only a couple weeks in between throwing 62 to about 64 and capping it out around 67. So my speed has increased, my nose angle has decreased, and honestly, it's not gonna help much of you, but I don't really feel like I changed much. It's something that one of my BR teammates told me, Gabe Piska. He basically told me, like, yeah, once you get to around that point where you're throwing over 400, there's not a whole lot that actually changes your distance form-wise. But what makes the difference between those extra couple of kilometers an hour is just the little things working together properly. First of all, head position. Typically, when I would do my throw, I would reach back like normal, but then my head would kind of just be pinned to my shoulder here. And it would kind of almost, like this is an exaggeration, but it would almost partially lead my throw. So my shoulders couldn't open up as efficiently because my head was kind of attached to them. The second thing was timing with my off arm and my lead arm. So basically getting this movement to be together. Before, my impression was that I needed to get back here and then get my off arm going to start the whole movement, to have your arm kind of lag behind. You can't really hit this before because it kind of just pulls your timing off. So having those two almost go together instead, getting it to there to allow it to accelerate properly. It's just a little thing, but it kind of made a big difference for me. When I was hitting that properly, I jumped up another mile per hour, maybe 2 miles per hour, just when I get that timing correctly. And the other thing I want to mention with timing too, was keeping my form just a little bit more compact so I could get the timing more consistently. So for me, being able to be more compact and having it move together allowed me to actually throw faster than if I was to reach all the way back. That ended up throwing itself off, and I would actually throw shorter, which is interesting. And that being said too, if you're running up really fast, it's harder to get your timing like perfectly on than if you're moving slower. So just being intentional, being slow, being compact, but being explosive were kind of the biggest things that I focused on as I was working on my form this last month. So up until this month, I was basically using the tech disc and the camera in unison to be able to say, okay, my numbers went up on that throw, why? Let's look at the video, let's look at the slow-mo and see kind of what's going on. But as I've gotten to this point now where I'm throwing consistently over 62-ish, my form is kind of looking very similar on video. It's like very minuscule little changes. And that's actually where the tech disc comes even more in handy. Because right now, I'm not thinking, okay, what do I need to do to fix my nose angle? What do I need to do to get my spin up? It's more like I threw that, it felt okay, but my arm speed was slower. Weird. Okay, let's try to throw it a couple more times, see little changes of timing to see if that works. The tech disc was basically just confirming with me after the fact if my timing was actually good. Within 2 months, I increased in skill what I would have increased in, say, 2 years because I was able to have the immediate feedback. So yeah, honestly, for every level of player, this is an invaluable tool. There's a couple little things that I think they could change. Even idea of like a sensor behind the net so you could see if you like early released or grip blocked and things like that, because that kind of plays with your numbers a little bit too. If you're really devoted in trying to get your numbers up, I would highly recommend getting one of these. If you haven't watched the first and second videos, go check those out. I'll link them below. But that's all I'm gonna say. Have a nice day.